Okay, so let's dive into something that's really been sparking a lot of online chatter lately.
Mm.
It kind of centers around a public social media post from a director whose films definitely get people talking.
Yeah, you mean Sandeep Reddy Vanga. He's known for those big, intense films like Animal and Kabir Singh.
Right.
And he put this post out on X, didn't name names, but it really seemed like he was calling out an actress.
Exactly. He mentioned something about broken trust and breaching what he called an unsaid NDA. Pretty strong words.
Very strong. And, based on the reports we've been looking through, the speculation, well, more than speculation, really, the reports suggest this message was aimed directly at Deepika Padukone.
Right. And it seems connected to her reported exit from his next big film, Spirit.
The one starring Prabhas, yeah. So I guess our mission here in this deep dive is to try and unpack what these different sources are saying about this whole reported fallout.
And maybe what it tells us about, the industry dynamics today.
Definitely. And hey, before we get too deep into it, if you find these kinds of breakdowns useful, please do us a solid and hit that like button right now.
Yeah, please do. And leave a comment. We genuinely want to hear your other opinions on this situation.
And subscribe. Subscribe to the Other Opinion channel. We bring you these deep dives every single week.
Sharing it with friends helps a lot, too. Okay, so the core issue, according to these reports, seems to boil down to the contract negotiations for Spirit.
Right. And Deepika Padukone, she's obviously one of India's highest paid actors. The reports say she decided not to go ahead with the film.
So what were the sticking points? What are the sources actually citing?
Well, the reports point mainly to two things. First, apparently an unwillingness to commit to shooting for more than 6 hours a day.
Okay, 6 hours.
And second, demanding extra pay if the shoot stretched beyond a specific time frame. The figure mentioned is 100 days.
So basically asking for changes to the proposed terms. An amendment.
Exactly. Seeking an amendment. Reports suggest there were discussions, producers trying to mediate and find a middle ground. But Padukone's team was reportedly quite firm on their position.
Which then led, apparently, to Vanga asking her to step out of the project.
Yeah, that's what the sources indicate. And then pretty quickly, after all this reported back and forth, the news broke, I think it was May 24th.
That Tripti Dimri was announced as the new female lead for Spirit.
Correct. So the casting change happened fast, following these alleged disagreements.
Now, this whole reported situation, assuming the details are accurate, it does touch on some wider themes, doesn't it? The sources certainly bring this up.
They do. They point out, for instance, Deepika Padukone's recent context being a new mother, her public advocacy for work-life balance, mental health, that kind of thing.
Right. And when you put that alongside these reported demands, shorter hours potentially, clearer terms for overruns.
Yeah, the sources kind of frame it as highlighting a possible tension, a tension between, say, an artist's personal needs and well-being.
Versus the, let's be honest, often incredibly demanding, all-consuming nature of these huge film productions.
Especially maybe with a director like Vanga, whose perspective on filmmaking commitment, as some sources also mention regarding his style, might be, different.
It's also worth noting, and some sources do flag this, that Vanga has faced controversies before, specifically regarding how women are portrayed in his films, which, according to those reports, made Padukone's initial casting a bit of a surprise for some fans anyway.
Yeah.
But look, we're just laying out what the sources cover here, trying to stay impartial.
Absolutely. Just reporting the different angles presented in the material we reviewed.
Yeah.
So you have this reported chain of events, right? A public sort of cryptic post.
Yeah, hinting at private talks.
Then specific contract details leaking out, or at least being reported.
And then a major casting change.
It does raise a pretty interesting question for you, the listener, to think about based purely on these reports. It really does. What do these kinds of reported negotiations, these very specific demands about hours, about payment, and these public disagreements, what does it all tell us?
About the pressures, maybe, the expectations, the sheer business realities shaping things for even the biggest stars in the film industry right now.
Gives you a lot to chew on, for sure.
Definitely. Okay, before we wrap up, please, one last reminder. Give this deep dive a like if you found it informative.
Drop those other opinions in the comments. We love reading them. And please subscribe to The Other Opinion for more deep dives like this.
And share it with your friends. Also, just a quick note, this was an AI podcast aimed at providing information based on the provided sources, and some of it might be wrong.